A warning today from the Brennan Center that the wave of voter suppression bills showing no sign of stopping. Since January 1st, 18 states have passed 30 laws that restrict access to the ballot. That includes key battleground states like Arizona, Georgia, Florida, and Nevada. The Brennan Center also noting this, quote, Congress has the power to stem the tide. In Washington, the biggest impediment to passing sweeping voting rights legislation in the face of unanimous Republican opposition is the filibuster. And President Biden last night pushed back against calls to eliminate it. Take a listen.
If it's a relic of Jim Crow, it's been used to fight against civil rights legislation historically. Why protect it?
There's no reason to protect it other than you're going to throw the entire Congress into chaos and nothing will get done.
All right.
Nothing at all will get done. Yeah. And there's a lot at stake.
Joining our conversation is Michelle Goldberg, New York Times columnist and MSNBC contributor, and Donna Edwards is also back with us. Welcome, welcome. Donna, isn't there a contradiction in Biden's position here? If voter suppression is Jim Crow on steroids, as we keep hearing, wouldn't you want to take everything and make every effort you can to get rid of it?
Well, here's where I do disagree with the president. I think that there could be, some limited carve out even for the purpose of voting rights, protecting constitutional rights. It's really a tragedy when a small minority can hold hostage voters across this country. And as that Brennan Center report put out, and it's not just those 18 states. I mean, there are bills waiting in the wings to be passed in any number of state legislatures. I think the only good news out of this is that the Brennan Center also reports that 25 states have actually expanded voting rights. But here the president really doesn't have the control. He can't do anything about the filibuster. This is all on the Senate, and it's on Senate Democrats to decide whether they want to keep a rule or they want to get rid of a rule for the purpose of expanding voting rights. And, so I put this in the Senate bucket because there's really nothing that the president can do. I mean, the president is already, and the administration, they've doubled up in enforcement and oversight in the Department of Justice. I mean, they've expanded what they're planning to do on the political side out in the states. It's up to the Senate to get voting rights through, and it will have an impact for them both politically and morally in these upcoming years. This is in the Senate's bucket.
So, Michelle, to the points just made by the Congresswoman, the president did suggest a solution last night, reforming the filibuster, if you will. Let's take a listen to more of what he's had to say.
I've been saying for a long, long time, the abuse of the filibuster is pretty overwhelming. When I got to the United States Senate at a time when we had guys like Jim Eastland and Strom Thurmond and Robert F. Byrd and a whole range of people who were very, 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 very conservative on race, to say the least. Even then, if you were to filibuster, you had to stand on the floor and hold the floor. And that's why Strom, I think, set the record at 24 straight hours or something. Don't hold me the number, but, so you had to take, there were significantly fewer filibusters in those days, in the middle of the civil rights movement.
But let me talk to you about that.
Well, let me finish my answer, because I'll tell you what I'd do. I would go back to that where you have to maintain the floor. You have to stand there and talk and hold the floor.
So, Michelle, what are the chances that the moderate Democrats are going to bite on this? I mean, is this where we could end up in order to get voting rights legislations passed, for example?
I don't think we know. I think that it's going to take, Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema seeing Republicans being increasingly intransigent, seeing them sabotaging what should be bipartisan priorities, seeing them sort of refuse to cooperate on anything. You heard Joe Biden say that if we get rid of the filibuster, the Senate will be dysfunctional. The Senate is dysfunctional. The Senate doesn't work right now. You can't get even very popular legislation with broad national majorities passed. And so I think, it's really unfortunate that so much of our national life and the preservation of our democracy is going to come down to the ultimate frustration tolerance of these two senators. But I think that's where we are.
So I think Donna Michelle makes a very important and critical point in not just the analysis of this, but how this conversation plays itself out. So where do Democrats go? How do they resolve this disconnect that exists right now inside the party? I mean, you have Dems at the state level begging for Congress to do something, and you have Congress trying to avoid a fight on the filibuster, and then you've got the president saying, well, if we got rid of it, all hell will break loose and democracy will collapse. Where do they go with this?
Well, I agree with Michelle. We've got a pretty dysfunctional system as it stands now. Look, I do think it's more than just Sinema and Manchin. Those are the ones who are, sort of have made public statements. But I think there are other senators there, too. And I believe that's probably what Joe Biden was referring to. I mean, the president was basically saying everything would go nuts. But I just don't know that I share that. I think there has to be a lot of public pressure put out in the states. And Democrats have to make a decision. Do you want to argue about the filibuster to move voting rights through, or do you want to focus on trying to get, some of the legislative agenda passed? And some people would say, you know what? You got to do both of those things, because as much as we want a domestic legislative agenda passed, the infrastructure bill, the reconciliation, those are important priorities. We also want to make sure that come November next year, people are able to freely and fairly cast a vote.
So I want to read a little bit more from the Brennan Center's new report, Michelle. They say that 3 states have enacted broad omnibus voter suppression laws this year: Georgia, Florida, Iowa, while Arkansas, Montana, and Arizona all passed multiple restrictive voting laws. Arkansas and Montana passed 4 such laws each, and Arizona passed 3. This wave of restriction on voting, the most aggressive we've seen in more than a decade of tracking state voting laws, is in large part motivated by false and often racist allegations about voter fraud. The most aggressive we have seen in more than a decade. This is the name of the game in the GOP politics right now, isn't it? This is their bread and butter, and a priority in how they go about playing the game.
Look, if you are a minority party, a party that hasn't won a presidential election, hasn't won the majority vote in 7 of the last 8 presidential elections, is only able to exercise power because of the counter-majoritarian aspects of our system, does not have an agenda that's intended to appeal to the majority of Americans, and is in fact extremely threatened by demographic change and extremely threatened by sort of kind of who the majority in this country increasingly is. Your only hope of maintaining power, well, I guess you have 2 things. You can moderate your agenda, you can try to appeal to more people, or you can try to stop more people from voting. And it's very clear what the Republicans have decided to do.
Michelle Goldberg and Donna Edwards are going to stick around with us for a little more conversation. When we return,